OTAs are afoot, and that means that our first reports about teams are coming out there. Going to be a lot of positive hype here over the next week or so. So what are the stacks that are going to be affected by these news items that come out a little bit early? Let's find out. I am, of course, already in an Underdog draft room. Let me pull up the screen here because I have this stupid overlay that I have to put on to earn credibility from the moment we start the video. Of course, already in a Best Ball Mania draft room, playing on Underdog once again. $1.5 million to first place in this one. Beautiful flat payout structure, which I haven't showed on screen in a while. So real quick flash here. Of course, that's the BBM5 payout structure we're looking at today. And I am picking in the 6th hole in this spot. Going to talk about some stacks. Going to talk about my picks that I want to grab here. We'll see what we get, kick back. First guy that comes to mind, though, with the title of the video right now, I do have to say, would be Trevor Lawrence for me. I think that he's a guy that the public has already loved for a while. Guy that last year was going much higher. Guy that I think people were disappointed by last year for sure. But now you add more weapons. People love Christian Kirk. Great Christian Kirk camp reports. If I had to guess, and this is why he's on the thumbnail, I think that the Jag stack is going to move up quite a bit, starting with Trevor Lawrence. We'll talk more about that. Of course, I am on the clock here. We're going to make a pick. And I think it's going to be a 0 RB day here, perhaps. Well, at least we'll see what the first round does. Amon-Ra St. Brown, come on down. Starting a little bit early today because I wanted to get a different look at rooms. And again, I don't know who you are, Chris, and I don't need you to draft with me. I'm the only draft streamer in the world that, by the way, it says draft with Spags down below. I say that because I want you to deposit an Underdog. I don't really want you to draft with me. I just want to draft with random rooms. If you happen to be in my room, sure, more power to you. But getting hunted every day by people, by the same people in every room, is a thing we're trying to avoid now. So that's why we're starting a little bit early some days. Someday it might start a little bit later. It's going to vary, but you'll never catch me. You'll never catch me alive. Did some drafts last night too. Just because I was hanging out, was watching Monday Night Raw. Raw wasn't really capturing my attention. I didn't want to do any more work for the day, so decided to do a few BBM drafts last night. And one of the biggest brain farts I ever had. I never used the queue, but I was like, you know what? I'm not on stream. I'm on my phone. I could set some stuff up. I could start to build the team perhaps that I want to grab these next few rounds. Ended up taking Malachi Corley accidentally at pick 88. He's normally got an ADP of about 167, so had to dig out of that team. I'll show you guys those teams at the end of the video because I do think you can tell me if I landed the plane or not with that massive faux pas. But that was one that I was like, oh my God, man, maybe I am better off drafting on stream and just getting my EV sniped every day. It's good. GM, what's good, Spags? Spags taught us how to draft well, doesn't want our competition. No, I want the most EV I can get. Like, I think there's this thing in general, and, sure, like, you can do well in tough rooms. Like, you can still make it work, especially if you are more disciplined. I'm producing a show. I'm creating content. I'm also trying to have a portfolio of drafts that are going to be largely on camera. I want my shit to be good. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of done with the concept of like let's all do it. Let's all fucking get into it. Like, that's really the thing for me. Like, especially when you have people who like every day do it, and every day they're not paying attention to your team. Every day they're just doing their own shit and drafting kind of blindly. Why would you want to give up EV? Like, I don't think that's what content should be. So I'm pushing back on it fundamentally. You want to take away your own EV by giving out player takes and stuff like I do. Like, some people do much worse than I do. Then more power to you. Give it away with player takes. Don't give it away, though, with just like declaring yourself on stream and wanting to take on all comers. You're just hurting yourself, and you're honestly hurting the people in the community too. It makes it much harder to advance. Like, some of the people I was drafting with last night, absolute dumb shit rooms. Even though I fucked up that Malachi Corley team, I think it still could advance because that's how bad every team was in that room. I got Aaron Rodgers 50 picks after ADP in that room. So like, I really think, to me, there's a lot of things out there that, you need to be mindful of for yourself as well as or what you're putting out there. And for me, that's one of the things that I'm mindful of in 2024. And I'll continue to be. So no disrespect. Call mixing up the times. I appreciate, Chris. Look, if you're in a room occasionally, I get it, but there's too many people in every room lately. So I need to look out for me first and foremost. But I appreciate the sentiment. And I'm sure at some point there'll be people, we'll have regulars and drafts. Like, I can't avoid it. There's only so many people that do, so many people that do best ball drafts on a given day. But that's my approach moving forward. So you're all aware of it now. And you're going to continue to be aware of it. 0010 here. So we have Amon-Ra. Of course, we are live for Niners in week 17. We don't want to reach for Debo here at pick 19 necessarily. We are sorting by my Spags rankings as well right now. Saquon, a little bit of a discount would not be the worst thing, I guess, if we wanted to take a running back. I'm going to go Nico here. Most rooms, again, with regulars, I cannot push Diggs back. Sometimes at rooms with random people, they don't like Stephon Diggs that much. So not to say the regulars do like Stephon Diggs. I feel like Stephon Diggs gets more FUD from people in the best ball community than anybody else in the world. But I would say for me, for Nico and Steph, if I get these guys together, I would love to do it with the Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we're going to try to do it today. How can I snipe you if you're changing times? Oh, no. It's a drats. I hate to hear it, but no, it's fine. People aren't really deliberately sniping me. It's just like, I want fucking soft rooms, man. Like, it was nice. It's nice to draft on like random times. Like, I'll say to you guys out there, I know there's Mike Leone did some data studies about when the best times to draft are. Generally, it's like early afternoon, I believe, is what somebody reminded me of recently. But like also if you're drafting at night, like if you draft on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, you're getting like drunks Thursday too, probably the same thing. At like midnight, you're getting drunks in there. You're getting people that aren't paying attention. You're getting people that are falling asleep at the wheel. Like, you should do some of those drafts. Like, I think that's ultimately what your commitment is to your own portfolio. Whether you're doing 150, whether you're doing 20 drafts, like, you should be chasing EV at every turn. You shouldn't be trying to make it more difficult for you and me. Like, that should be the thing. Beat up on softer competitions like DFS. So one of the things that Osmo had told me back in the day when we were working together before it was Stochastic was like, a lot of people with DFS, what the goal should be is building up your tournaments where you win the quarter, you beat everybody in the quarter, then you have enough bankroll, you go up to the $1, the bankroll, you go up to the $4, the bankroll, you go up to the, then the 150 maxes. Like, that's sort of what the process should be. So for all of you out there, like, welcome competition all you want, but I don't know, man. I've also like caught up on The Walking Dead recently, so maybe I'm just realizing in all this life here, all we have for ourselves to do what we can to survive, and that's what I'm going to do for myself. My advance rate drafting with you, Pete, others is above average. Like people staying in their lane and getting the players I wanted mostly. Okay, that makes sense too for Mr. Mister. And Mr. Mister wasn't a lot of Pete and mine drafts. I think you were in the most drafts with Pete last year. I think Jeremy is probably in the most of mine. Guy, of course, persona non grata around here. I haven't banned him, but Jeremy yesterday, fucking thumbs down of all thumbs downs. But yeah, look, I could see the logic in that too. I'd rather have ADP values and I'd rather try to take advantage of people that don't know as much personally. But we still have like, 6 badges in here anyway. So what does it really matter? We have Amon-Ra, Nico, Derrick Henry here. Could be a little bit of a tiebreaker for correlation. Jalen Waddle, I am lower on him than the field. You can see here my rank of 36, ADP 27.2. I like Metcalf. I don't get enough Derrick Henry. I'm okay with the week 17 correlation part of it as well. We will go Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown as our first 3 picks. And I'm taking a running back today. I'm going to take some running backs sometime. Still want most of my portfolio to be 0 RB. But I am trying to open my mind a little bit more to guys that I think are in good situations that have good runouts, whether it be the team, the player themselves, and Derrick Henry is one of those guys. Yeah, look, Mr. Mister points out there are some benefits for sure, but to me, no, not in this particular year as well, where it's just about advancing and all of that in week 16. I don't know. I think you're going to do better on people that aren't even thinking about week 17 correlation, let alone week 16 correlation. But that's me. It's all ultimately small sample size stuff anyway. So what are you going to do? Sharper rooms allow you to push QBs instead of randomly getting sniped. Yeah, that's fine. I think there's enough badges out there that I don't need the same ones and everything is really the main thing. I don't need the same tendencies. It's bad content for people that aren't regulars as well. Like, I don't know. I think honestly, more best ball people should be mindful of it, but I get it. Nobody's been in the ringer like I'm putting myself in the ringer this year of doing 5 drafts a day. So I'm a little more aware of it. And I'm also like I'm a precious person. Like I want shit to be the way that I want it to be. So those 2 things come together and I'll be the trendsetter. Like I'm going to do the stream with the Pound tomorrow. I know the Pound is like, come draft with me. Everybody, let's all draft and let's all be in the same rooms and stuff. Like, cool. That's his approach. It's working for him. More power to him. I want to be a delicate genius who just sits here and everybody watches me draft and goes, wow, look at those. Look at those picks. Boy, Spags' January takes have proven to be even more true than ever. Those kind of things. That's what we're looking for. And an eliminator with 11 badges, and I am positive they're all thinking I'm the problem somehow. That's the thing too, is like because everybody's looking out for themselves, they end up kind of just stuck in this myopic thing. But we've been into the drum enough here, so let's focus on the draft a little bit more. You guys keep popping in the chats. If there's anything interesting, I'll read it. But I just needed to kind of draw at least explain why I'm going 10 minutes early today. But just yesterday, it's like I can't have regulars like who do fucking legit half their portfolio with me. I can't have you guys ruin my drafts. Like that's just how it's got to be. So So other stacks here that I think OTA-wise. So I talked about the Jags to open the video. Jags to me are the big one. Like that's the one where anything where you have that previous public love, you have guys that people have liked before in the past. Christian Kirk also, I feel like, gets sucked off by every other analyst in the business on every turn. They love the fact that he's going to certainly be a big target. You then see the reports about him getting every ball. He's a clear alpha target earner, were the early reports coming out yesterday. Those are things that I think really aren't news items that you should be mindful of. If it talks you into Christian Kirk, great. Like I think Christian Kirk is a fine enough play in that range. I don't think he's got the touchdown equity of some other guys there. But the point is, like, for me, really, and for all of you guys out there, I think it should be, not fall for shit that doesn't really matter that much. And stuff that matters, like ATN, talking about ATN again. Doug Peterson, as I've been saying since January, they don't want to give ATN a ton of touches. Doug Peterson, what does he say again? We don't want to give him a ton of touches. We want to have Tank Bigsby take the workload off of him. They also drafted a guy they can use for some more touches as well if Tank falters. So we're again seeing signal for that. That stuff matters. That's workload-based things. I think, again, Coach Speak Index does a great job rounding the stuff up and giving you also, the previous history of the coach and how reliable they are. But in general, like taking ATN at 42 right now is not what I would do. 0120, you can see my team here, what I would prefer to draft relative to my ranks. According to ADP, T. Higgins is the highest one. Higgins is going to come down because he's holding out, as we've also said here for a while now. This is tough. This is tough. Like McBride, I'm going to go for McLaurin here because I don't want to get bled out at receiver. Really tempted to go Joe Mixon because I think we can corner the market for that game's running back production. Somebody asked me this yesterday because I did take Rams, took Kyron Williams and James Conner in the same team. It was like, oh, there's week 17 correlation here. And somebody commented like, well, that's a negative correlation. It's like, yes, in DFS, it's negative correlation. For best ball, though, if you have a shot to corner the running game in one game, I think that's your primary goal. So that's really one thing for week 17 that I like as a correlation overall. The second part of it is last year, one of the best matchups that actually had two running backs going off was Jets Cleveland, where Breece Hall had the big game. Jerome Ford also had the big game. So it's possible to happen. It's just, I think we have the conditioning from DFS that don't play two running backs in the same game in DFS. For best ball, though, it's just, hey, maybe you hit on this game that has 50 points in it. And I think that's really the main hope there. And you also have two guys that control the backfield enough. Maybe they have some pass game work. Maybe they have big touchdown equity. I would say for, Mixon and for Derrick Henry, they probably do have enough touchdown equity where that game could be low scoring and they could both punch in 2 touchdowns. That game could be high scoring. They both punch in 2 touchdowns. So it's a little bit of a guesswork thing for sure. But I would say to me, that's something that I would try to hold near and dear a little bit more. Just taking the correlation at running back if you can for week 17. Let's see. Missed the start. Well, that's going to happen when I start a little bit early, but it's okay. You can skip backwards. You can hop in live. You'll get a shorter day with me. It doesn't really matter to me. Follow your heart. I'm just a mere content creator who's happened to show my drafting on stream. Joe Mixon, if he had come back to 54, I would have happily taken him. Really would like to get my bags on mixing up more, but when you start with Derrick Henry, do feel like you get pretty weak at receiver if you don't hit receiver. I don't know. I was trying some shit out last night, like things that I really, frankly, just don't want to do on stream because the rooms, again, if we have a lot of regulars, a lot of badges, it makes it tough. Was taking like 3 receivers through 7 rounds kind of stuff. One draft, I think I had 3 through 10. It was like, can I stick this landing? Can I make it work? Again, I'll show you guys the teams at the end of the video, but I want to do a little bit of a different approach too. And I think that in general here for a lot of these rooms where you are in sharp drafters, not botching wide receiver is a pretty big part of this. Just hopped in BBM and have Pete and Bime for. Are they doing a stream or are they doing something? Probably something pre-recorded would be my guess. All right, so we have Mark Andrews here. If we're going to deviate, that would be a pretty nice one. Don't mind James Cook at this price tag. I'm going to take a good amount of Ray Davis. CJ Stroud would be okay here, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews. We're not going to have a game stack of Houston because of the fact that we did not take Stroud, did not take Lamar, but have a tight correlation for that. We'll have to get our game stacks somewhere else. But the team so far, Derrick Henry at running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin at wide receiver, tight end Mark Andrews. So we have Houston, we have Baltimore, and we'll see what else we have later on. Checking the chats here. Actually, that would have also good thing for those guys because that would have been that same draft. with them. So again, I got out of the way. Everybody wins. It all works out for me today. It's all rain and Spags. I think my favorite QB pairing is Murray and Daniels. I like it too. I like it too. Murray to me, as long as you're getting them at a reasonable price tag, I think there's a chance Murray comes up too, honestly. Just that's one I would watch out for. The fit again, the current title of the videos you're watching it live. We're talking about stacks that might go from OTAs. Murray could come up a little bit more. I think he needs somebody like he needs, I don't know, Pat Crane to go like, yeah, I don't know, like Kyler Murray, we got him ranked 20 spots higher. And maybe that's the thing that would start to push him. But I think Kyler Murray, you could make a case, should be a little bit higher. Right, I guess where would he go? Maybe where Stroud's going right here, I guess, pick 60. The Tank Dell drafter takes Stroud. Nice discount for him. I was hoping that I could push Stroud to 70, like I've seen people do lately in streams. And also in a draft I saw yesterday, Stroud went pretty late. So I think Stroud is one guy that might be falling a little bit more in certain rooms. Some rooms are going to see people take him at 40. So that's a little bit of a balance. But Stroud, I think, is a guy that maybe the lack of rushing upside, people are all over the place. He and Mahomes, though, depending on the room you're in, Mahomes can go 10 spots ahead of ADP. Mahomes can go 10 spots after ADP. I think Stroud kind of the same player. And AR falling to 58. Just incorrect. Just really, if he gets any lower, I'm going to be taking him in every fucking draft. And I don't care if he and Jaden Daniels have the same bye week. He and Jaden are going to be on a lot of my teams together. All right, pick coming up here. We have Baltimore, Houston correlation. We have Denver, or not Denver. We have Detroit. I'm thinking already about what I'm going to be setting up. We got Washington. So nothing we need to take here in terms of Washington's matchups. Philadelphia and Atlanta. Detroit, we have Niners, which obviously we're not going to have any Niners ever again. So we get to Ricky Pearsall, which we don't really want, or I don't really want. All right. By rank, it would be Kamara, Coleman, Ladd. I've got Rachaad White lower. We're almost at a point where I would take Rachaad White. I take a lot of Keon. I am going to take Ladd here. Been taking Keon a good amount in drafts, not because I think he's a great talent, not because I think he's even in a tremendous situation. They've clearly shown a desire, bring a lot of bodies there in terms of the boundary receiver, the outside wide receiver, and see who could win that role. And I also, the meme of Keon Coleman stuff, like the fact that he keeps putting out catchy little viral videos and stuff, kind of think is going to steam him up a little bit more because that's how human brains work. But I'm taking Keon because I do believe in the Bills' offense, believe in his touchdown ability there, his red zone ability. I'm watching out on a bias for Keon because he grades out to me very poorly in the EPA metrics that I swear by. And every time that I go against that because of situation, kind of feel like I get burned. Last year, I guess the biggest example of that would be Tank Bigsby, who I got talked into a little bit, even though I hated his profile. Still will go back to Tank this year, even though I hate his profile again after a rookie year because of the situation. But running back's a little bit different than I would say wide receiver. And Keon could be a bust and it wouldn't shock me. I think he could be Kelvin Benjamin and have the one great year where there's a lot of volume. That wouldn't shock me either. But I don't want to be too over on Keon. I think that he and Ladd are very similar plays to me. Ladd more talented, but worse situation. Keon better big bodied guy who's going to actually score some touchdowns. But the situation there is really good for him. How close am I watching my Jane exposure? I'm watching it a little bit. I'm not like worried about it yet. It's too early. I'm going to be, I think after this one, 27 drafts in because of the 3 I did last night. So to me at this point, like I'll start worrying when I get to 75 if I'm crazy heavy on him. But I think naturally with his ADP coming up, I'll start to get less. Like people take him now. I think I saw him go in the 60 at 60 yesterday when a Pete's draft. So if that's a thing that happens, I won't get him, which is fine. All right, 0140. So we got Chargers stuff going now. Brian Thomas falling is pretty nice. I would not mind that. No obvious correlations here that I'm dying to get. And I do like Jameson Williams, but not above Brian Thomas. I guess Brian Thomas coming down perhaps because, or potentially could be coming down because of the Christian Kirk good camp reports. But Christian Kirk, as I've mentioned here, actually one of our guys was rewatching the videos and was commenting on YouTube about this video I did a couple weeks ago about Christian Kirk, how I think he's better served in full point PPR than half point PPR. I think the touchdown equity is going to be pretty tough for him to hit. Part of that, a large part of that is Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is like another guy, like a Keon Coleman in the red zone. He's much better everywhere else down the field or around the field. Brian Thomas, I think, takes those touchdowns away in Jacksonville. willing to make the bet on him. And if he falls at all because people are like, oh, Christian Kirk's the alpha target earner, I'll buy Brian Robinson in the 80s and the 90s and the 100s. Wherever you want to push Brian Robinson to, I'm going to take him. So that's one I would watch out for unless he has some great camp highlights. Like all the videos of him so far have been him doing some little toe drag stuff with Trevor Lawrence and the 1 day of OTAs so far. Did I get a chance to look at the spreadsheet you put? No, I did not. I'll check it out later. But if you want to tell me what it is, feel free. But I do not know what it was. Digging all these promos, UD random $25 deposit match, 50%, DK draft. Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, of course, the big promo right now, if you're new to Underdog, use that promo code SPLASH down below. It's $250 in bonus cash will hit your account. You also get a mystery pick 'em with that. So check it out for yourself right now. Big change there for Underdog's bonuses, where they're now giving you, I guess, really 2.5x the bonus potentially that you were getting before. So check that out. Promo code SPLASH on Underdog. If you want to draft on BBMs, draft on Underdog and BBMs, ideally not alongside me, but in parallel, and draft it in a parallel room, in an overflow room. That'd be great. Love doing the Thomas Ingram double dip. Yep, I think that's a good one for sure. In this particular room, because Thomas went slightly later, Ingram goes to 79. We're not going to have a shot at that, but we have an elite tight end anyway, so we're not too worried about it. We have a Hulk. We don't need a second Hulk. I think Brian Robinson stinks, and yet he's such an easy click at current ADP. You can't stop clicking him. I don't think he stinks. He's the power back. There's been a lot of signal from Dan Quinn already about how much they want to run, what they want to do with the run, how they want to be running high 20s in the games. Even if Austin Eckler takes 10, 15 touches away, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that Robinson is getting 15 to 20. We then see Eckler getting 10-ish. That'd be my guess. I think that he's one of the better clicks. Obviously, I believe in Jaden too, so that does go hand in hand. So we do get a faller here with Jameson Williams. Jonathan Brooks would be a nice RB2 as well. Could set up some late Tampa Bay stuff. To be clear, he's a faller relative to my ranks, not relative to ADP. Kind of think we need running back more here, and I like Brooks, and I think Brooks' ADP is going to keep rising. Maybe unless he has a setback with the knee where they just say, oh, he's not going to be available in time. I also have Jaden here. Jaden might be more important for this team, but I'm not going to get him in time. Fuck. All right, well, bye-bye, Jaden. Hopefully Jaden goes to a good home, a loving home, because I doubt he's going to come back to me, but we'll see. Best Ball Summer is here. Let's go, Spags. Thank you, Elite Deep. That's the kind of chat I'd love to see. Appreciate it very much. Spreadsheet of advance rates and playoff equity by bucket of a variety of stats, aka a lot of the Leone Manifesto. Okay. I used Roto as a tool for that, so, I'm sure it's similar to that, but yeah. Terry exposure is currently crazy high. Take him with the aim of grabbing Daniels late in the draft, but he always goes early. Yeah, that's the thing is if you take McLaurin, it's not really a claim for Jaden Daniels, unfortunately. People just want him because of the rushing upside. They're willing to play him unstacked too. Your biggest benefit, and I said this with AR last year, and obviously AR got hurt, so that ended up helping him very much. But I really thought that because people were so comfortable taking an unstacked AR or with like Alec Pierce later, you're going to benefit from actually correlating a top pass catcher with him. I think for Washington, it's going to be the same thing, where as long as McLaurin's pretty good, it's probably going to go hand in hand, and he's going to be the biggest beneficiary. And then also you have Jaden still having the rushing upside, still having big passing days. So to me, you want Jaden stacked with the alpha target earner, which is still Terry. And to me, Terry, I get the fact he's only been at best, I think, a top wide receiver 20 in his career. I just think he hasn't had the situation to do it. And Jaden, to me, as we've talked about enough times here, much like a CJ Stroud, do expect him to add value to the guys around him from day one. But I also think if you take him unstacked, he might be fine, but I just don't think it's going to benefit you as much as you might think. What do I think of them removing the season-long payouts for BBM? Great, because I'm not a chalky drafter, so I think that's a wonderful thing. If you're an RB-heavy drafter, you should probably be sad about that, taking your early RBs. Really, to me, though, I think that would be better served by a different tournament. Part of why I like drafting on drafters is you get 17 weeks of scoring there, no playoffs. That to me is like a nice thing to have as a separate kind of tournament, as a little bit of an aperitif to doing BBM or DK Millie Makers. So I like them all having different wrinkles. BBM to me, you don't need to combine two concepts into one, especially two concepts that kind of inherently reward different drafting styles. So to me, great news. Still wish they had like a $4 million payout up top, just because I am a slut for things like that. All right, we didn't walk it down because I didn't think it was going to happen. But Jaden Daniels, we did technically walk everybody down. I stared you right in the camera, and I get Jaden at pick 102. What a treat. Jaden Daniels. So teams so far: Jaden Daniels, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Ladd McConkey, and Brian Thomas. Tight end, Mark Andrews. So we've got Baltimore and Houston without the QBs. We've got Carolina with Jonathan Brooks, not correlated with anything yet. We have Jaden Daniels, nothing correlated with him yet besides old Terry McLaurin. So we're live for some Atlanta stuff, live for Philly stuff for the Week 16 correlation for Washington. Aeneas Smith, I think a guy probably going to get drafted with some regularity now. I still would think Johnny Wilson is live for that. The big news, quote unquote, big news yesterday. Really, the main news item we had yesterday, that was the only thing. Devontae Parker retired. He had signed with the Eagles. Maybe had a shot to play a Julio Jones kind of role for them. Maybe more, I guess, potentially. But that body is gone. So now we get to a spot where we could have one of Johnny Wilson and Aeneas Smith be Quez Watkins, I guess is really your hope. But Johnny Wilson was good enough that now I see a pathway. Aeneas Smith, better draft capital, but I think less talented and less unique as a position, where Johnny Wilson's huge. So we'll see what happens. I think really, to me, wouldn't go crazy about either guy now. When he gets to July, August, though, Johnny Wilson and Aeneas Smith, start hearing him run a little bit with the first team. One of them could be Quez, maybe improved Quez. We have a 10-second Flock fantasy explaining McLaurin a bad pick on his ADP. Well, Terry McLaurin, here's the thing about Terry McLaurin. He just doesn't have the upside. He's never been more than a wide receiver 20. And sure, he scores a lot of points, which is great for best ball. And sure, he'll have spike weeks that can win you an entire season, but I just don't see it in season long. And ultimately, I'm a man who only knows season long. So I suppose you could take Terry McLaurin, but I'd rather just take the safety of Tyler Lockett and pick 120. I don't know. I just like the Flock now that he's not doing the fucking over the top voice. I've lost a beat with him. Now he's like talking like a normal guy. He still sounds like weird. He's talking like a normal guy. So I don't know. It's not my heart anymore. I don't even remember what his bullshit voice sounded like. His fake, I want to be an announcer. I want somebody desperately to recognize me and make me an announcer on TV voice. Now he's stuck on YouTube with the rest of us. So he's good. Now he's talking like an actual person again. All right. 1, 2, 5, 1. The Giants play Atlanta. They play Indianapolis. The Bengals play Denver in week 17. Cleveland week 16. I'll take Singletary here. Nobody I'm missing out ADP-wise, right? Could take Eckler. Eckler correlates. Let's do the tiebreaker. We'll go with Eckler. I've been a little bit blind on Eckler because I am a Brian Thomas believer. Still think that Brian Thomas is the better play. But in this particular room, somebody did the right thing and took Brian Thomas ahead of him. So that's stabilized a little bit more in BBM, where Eckler is now not going ahead of Brian Robinson in every draft, but he goes ahead of him in enough drafts that I would prefer to get B-Rob. It's okay. He lost his hair and his voice powers. I haven't seen his hair. He's wearing hats now, too. I really think he's just like, you know what? Like, I didn't get the fucking big, like, he was working with NFL Network at some point on like some social media thing. And it's like, once that doesn't work out, it's like, well, I guess I just can be a normal person again, because now I know the TV thing isn't there. I truly believe knowing content people, and frankly, even myself, like, there was one point I've talked about this before where Pete and I, NFL Network, had asked my former employers at Football Outsiders to have us submit a pilot for like splash play, like what it would be for NFL Network. And then that was when everything went to shit and everybody got fired. So that we never actually did that. But like, when you have that shot and it like goes away, same thing for me, like passed up a job at NBC, didn't end up getting into the full last round for ESPN at one job. Like once that goes away, it's like, well, I guess I don't have to be fucking serious anymore because I've lost out on the biggest opportunities, like the dream of like what professionalism is. So you can just fucking be yourself then. And granted, I've probably always been myself to my own detriment, but I would say for him, maybe there's like a little bit of a relief of just like, I could be a human being again. I don't have to be trying to be the presenter, having to be a person who's like fucking doing award shows. Your pressure is improving, but I don't think it's going to get a mod email yet. Okay. Or a mad email yet. We've already gotten the mad email. We got the DM. We got the fucking angry DM with him trying to big dick him. And now he and Pete are pals. I've never met him, so I don't know. I don't go to the Underdog secret cabal of influencer things that those guys get to go to. I stay here at home, cozy and exhausted. Draft more RBs. You could be like me. Look, I took Derrick Henry. I feel like you'd be proud of me, Faith Fantasy YouTube host. Great job taking Derrick Henry today. I love that. Love that pick. That's a great pick. Would have considered Jared Goff if he came back to me, but the guy who has no Lions had to take Jared Goff. So you want to make your case, guys, for more regulars and drafts. That's it. Jared Goff goes unstacked. One of the worst plays you can make is Jared Goff unstacked. And there it is. We do have Herbert kicking around here. ADP-wise, it'd be Goddard. Could use another running back, I think. I do like Zeke. We'll lock up Herbert. I don't think I want to build a late stack, and I think I can grab some New England guys to make a Week 17 correlation. So Justin Herbert, come on down. Is the only way I draft you, sheerly out of inertia and me not wanting to click Zeke for the 100th time. 2-3-5-1 build so far. Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert. If I had to guess, if this team is anything competent and if the season goes anything like I expect, I bet Jaden Daniels makes the roster 14 weeks out of this time. Justin Herbert, I just don't expect much. He was in a Kellen Moore offense and he couldn't crack 20. Now he's going to go to the most regressive offense in football and crack 20. I don't know. But he's my second QB, so I have to root for him now. If you're drafting him, draft like you're right. Justin Herbert, MVP year. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Ladd McConkey, who is the reason I've been foisted upon Justin Herbert, and Brian Thomas Jr., along with Mark Andrews. So we have a Houston-Baltimore mini stack there. We've got Washington. We've got Jaden with Eckler and with McLaurin. We've got Ladd going with Justin Herbert, and no other real correlations here at all. Okay, team. I think it's not. We'll have to get the correlation late. That's what we're going to have to do. You didn't hear Dan Campbell say he wants to get Goff 15 carries. Could you imagine? I would love to see it. Honestly, the thing is, like, if Jared Goff did run 15 times a game, he would be like a much better fantasy asset. Like, and he probably would run like, he'd get you 5 yards per carry on that. He'd be sliding like crazy. There'd be a lot of times he'd get like 1 yard and have to slide or have to maybe even slide in the backfield. But I bet you he'd add 5 points onto his daily haul for that. And that would be enough to justify his existence as a QB, though. As a pocket passer, a little bit tough. I guess my hope for Herbert should be that they go, hey, Herbert, you're actually pretty athletic and you're also pretty big. Can you run like Lamar? And they just have him running 10 times a game. Maybe that's possible with Harbaugh. Like, every QB Harbaugh's ever had has run, and every QB Roman's ever had has run. So who knows? 15 carries, 25 yards. Great. Take that 2.5 points right to the bank. The occasional touchdown. Anybody who runs is worth it. Like, ultimately, you don't have to be a great runner. You just gotta run. You gotta run, Forrest. That's all. We've got our 2-3-5-1 here, sorting by ADP. Jahan Dotson, who does correlate, would be the top pick right now. Ooh, we can make a real gross bet. All right, Gabe Davis goes. Dotson would be okay. Do I want to do the triple with Jaden? Yeah, we might still be live for a tight end for Washington. All right, guys, hold your nose. It's Quentin Johnston season. I do think there are merits to Quentin Johnston, and I have to say, as much as it shocked me based on what I saw visually and what he did in DFS and every slate every week last year, and what he did in best ball as well, Quentin Johnston was a slightly positive EPA receiver last year. I just have to say that out loud. Target earning was an issue. Quentin Johnston, look at the numbers real fast. Quentin Johnston. So a 15% target per out run rate. That is the big flaw. Air yards per target. What did he do there? 14.5 air yards per target. So not bad. Boy, his deep ball EPA -0.3. So he didn't do well on deep balls, which is where he should have excelled a little bit more. And then, yeah, overall a 0.04 EPA per target. So he did add value. Technically, it is easier for a receiver to be in the positive EPA. If you're not in the positive EPA as a receiver, it's a bad sign. Of course, expected points added, how much you're adding with every touch relative to average. Was hoping Mooney could come back. But yeah, Quentin Johnston to me, no, not somebody I'm excited for, but I think a pick that is acceptable. I don't track drops because it's a bullshit stat. Drops just make you worry about something that might not happen the same way the next year. And in fact, the way the teams view it, there's actually one of the Broncos interviews they did about Troy Franklin was like, I think they had talked in the Athletic article about it. How Franklin had, I guess, 9 drops last year in college. And they were like, yeah, we can refine his techniques and he's not going to drop the ball as much. Maybe he still will, but ultimately that's how teams view it. So why would we view it differently and go, this guy had drops, he's broken? I don't think he should. That's my belief. QJ equals screen merchant with Yak. I mean, again, he had 14.5 air yards per attempt last year. That's the opposite of a screen merchant. He's not like a screen guy. He's too big to be a screen guy. You got to get him the ball downfield, and he's got to make somebody miss downfield. Polk would have been a nice pick as well. He goes, tough pocket for me. Really thought one of Mooney or Polk would come back, and I could start to build out some Oppo Week 17 stuff. But instead, we will do perhaps some Samo Week 17 stuff. All right, the room is just saying, hey, have Jahan Dotson. And I guess I shouldn't look the gift horse in the mouth, though we do need more running backs. This is tough. Falling Dotson, Sinnott coming up, Marshawn Lloyd coming up. I'm taking Lloyd. Lloyd at a discount to me is just wrong. I have him, as you see, I have him ranked really aggressively. I think he should be in the late 120s right now. Instead, he's going in this room at 150, got an ADP of 146. I don't believe that's smart, personally. The reason I am passing up on Dotson will become evident with the next pick, I believe. But I am letting the Dotson value go, and we'll see. I actually might not get either guy back. Might not get either Washington player. So basically, I was thinking, I guess, hopefully none of you guys were drafting in here because we started early. Hopefully none of you guys are watching the chat or watching the stream, rather. I'm hoping that we can get one of Dotson or Sinnott on the way back. I don't know the likelihood of that, but my running back room is a little bit desperate. So I had to make a choice there, and I think Marshawn Lloyd makes the running back room acceptable right now at 4 running backs. I obviously love Ben Sinnott. Happy to take him with Jaden every single time. The amount of Sinnott and Jaden, by the way, I have in the big board is absurd. Very happy with that. Dotson, though, I can live without Dotson, even though I think he could be a fine player this year. We've made a bet on Eckler. We've made a bet on McLaurin, and we're trying to make a bet on Sinnott. So that's the reason I didn't take Dotson there. Dead at running back, and I want to make a bet on Sinnott more so. So we'll see if we can make that bet here. Sinnott sometimes goes at ADP. Sinnott sometimes falls to the 170s in rooms where they don't know who he is yet. Hoping that this room is the latter. We'll find out. The reception perception. Yeah, look, I know everybody loves reception perception. It's not my Bible by any stretch. Don't see why Quentin doesn't have a better or same year as Ladd based on the value. I don't think that's accurate. Ladd's a clean slate. Quentin Johnson, previous regime guy as well. Different coach, different GM. Both those things can be bad. They're going to give Quentin Johnson a shot, but if he flounders early, like, he's fucked. So he and Ladd do not have the same run out. And Ladd's also comparable target earner, different player for sure. But he's going to get targets that are a lot easier to catch than Quentin Johnson will. And Quentin Johnson has a hard time catching them anyway. So that's 2 things against Quentin Johnson. And then this is me being a Quentin Johnson liker generally as a concept. But yeah, I've been low on Quentin Johnson. For me, the visuals last year were pretty rough. As somebody that wanted to believe in him, they were pretty rough. Yeah, I don't agree with this take about Ladd being elite, but he is definitely a better player than Quentin Johnson. More refined receiver than Quentin Johnson is, I guess, the best way to put it. And a better athlete, too. So he's got, I was going to say, like, at least Quentin Johnson has the physicality. He's got the physicality in terms of size, but he doesn't have the physicality in terms of being a better athlete. So that's a pretty tough combo. Sinnott goes here. Somebody's tight end, too. Sigh, coincidentally. Sigh makes me sigh. But you know what? At least I know he doesn't fucking know me and he's not watching my streams. You snipe me and you have no clue who I am? Awesome. Fucking do it till your heart's content. If you don't know me and you do that, great. If you know me and you're doing it, see what the next pick is. Some guys I do not mind in this range as well. So we have our bet. Same thing I talked about earlier. We have our bet on Jonathan Brooks. I think Bucky Irving can win the job. I think he'd be a good pick here. Antonio Gibson, I think, might be a better pick because we have the Charger stuff going. We got scooped on Jalen Polk. So I'm going to go Antonio Gibson. I think this build could be a 6 RB build. It could also just have these 5 guys and be okay with it. But let's see what happens around the turn. Let me give this team a read. We got Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert at QB. Yucky on the second one. Yum, yum, yum on the first one. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Marshawn Lloyd, Antonio Gibson at running back. Gibson is currently our bring back for the Chargers stuff. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Quentin Johnston at wide receiver. And it's tight end Mark Andrews. So we need to get another tight end at some point. Derrick Henry would have been a good one. Or, excuse me, Hunter Henry would have been a good one. We could have had both Henry boys. The brothers Henry we could have had here. But we don't get that. Fullback FUD. Get out of here. Get out of town with that. I will tell you, like, really, and maybe I'm completely wrong about Ben Sinnott. I don't think so, though. Take inventory if you can. On my behalf, take inventory of everybody who calls Ben Sinnott a fullback and fucking remind them of how wrong they are later on. Take inventory of everybody who bashes Jaden Daniels. Please remind them, put them on the list. Put them on the Nixon enemies list if you can. But this is one of those years, guys, where I think I have some takes that the market has come along with to some extent. But some, too, that I feel like people have really shut on. I actually saw at one point somebody had tagged me on something on the Ship Chasing channel, and I had somehow gone back. Like, on Discord, the chats get weird, and you kind of jump to random spots sometimes. There's one thing about, like, somebody, I think Davis had made a remark about, like, oh, you don't like 40% Troy Franklin during the NFL draft. I feel like Troy Franklin has got one of the nut outcomes, too, so we're mocking that. Anybody who's I keep receipts on all this shit, guys. I remember everybody last year who bashed AR only to fucking suck his dick when he had a couple good games. So that's the industry for you. That's not Spags. Spags will keep receipts. We will fucking know. Davis makes everybody's list. I'd watched the ADP chasing stream and click the comments because I'm always curious to see if people are commenting on things. And somebody commented like, the guy in the middle won't stop talking over everybody. And guess who the guy in the middle was? But hey, whatever. If you can't make jokes about people on the stream where people think we're like feuding, it's like, no, we're feuding about the takes because I'm going to be right again for the third straight year. My player takes wasn't even a kiss. Too distracted by the board. Bucky Irving goes 168. Good for Adam Capo. Hope he goes to a good home. He's an H, which people get confused by, but he's not even an H like Bell is. Like he's an H, but he's not like a running H. I don't know, man. They could use him all over the field as the main thing, and he earns targets, and he's good downfield, and he's good in the red zone. What else can you ask for out of a tight end? Nothing is the correct answer. Great athlete too. What else can we ask for? Nothing. Me a Spag versus the haters live. I feel like that's every draft room I'm in. I don't like, whatever. People can think whatever they want. I don't need a debate. I got my thoughts. ADPs, sort by that for a second. All right, I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. Actually, you know what? I'm a decent fan of this guy. I'm going to take Marvin Mims here as a one-off. I take the Denver stack a good amount. You guys know I believe in Bo Nix at this point if you watch any streams. Denver, we are getting the correlation with the Chargers in week 16, and then we're getting no correlation with Cincinnati right now, but that's fine. I just like Mims for being my wide receiver 7, a big spike week guy, and I think we need a spike week guy because Quentin Johnston, just having him at all makes me uncomfortable. Side of the board. We're going to the long side of the board. Let's give the team a read. We got Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert at QB, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Marshawn Lloyd, Antonio Gibson at running back. Wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Quentin Johnston, Marvin Mims Jr., and Mark Andrews at tight end. So we need tight end. That's it, really. Just tight end. I think we only need one tight end as well. But if 2 were there that I liked, I can live with it. Jaden really beating. I will say, Jaden, if you're new to the take game, maybe the 18th round / undrafted guy take, I wouldn't start with that one. What the real take machine would be like, here's a guy who's in the 60s. This guy can have a great year, like an ADP. You don't go, here's a guy who nobody drafts, who also tremendously disappointed everyone. He's going to be a league winner. I don't know that I would make that the hill I would die on personally. I had a similar conversation with one of our guy D. Owens who is one of the paying members here. So he asked me for some team reviews. He's like really into Jacob Cowing. And I know people were pre-draft, but it's like, we have enough information now that you shouldn't be in on Jacob Cowing until like unless something crazy happens July and August. You have Ricky Pearsall getting better draft capital. You have the fact that Jacob Cowing really wasn't that great analytically in college. He earned some targets, but he wasn't that great. He's playing out of the slot anyway, which we'd appreciate. But also, like, you still have Ayuk there. Ayuk is holding out right now. He's not going to be in OTAs. He's going to be back at some point. Debo's still there. Kittle's still there. McCaffrey's still there. Like, how many things do you need before you adjust, like, what the guy's reality is? And I would say that's the kind of thing, too, where, like, you don't need to cape for Jacob Cowing in the 18th round. Take him occasionally if you really love him. Get 2% of him. Get 4% of him. But, like, the Puka Kyron Williams thing is going to make people make some really bad decisions this year, and you shouldn't. You should still be really mindful of exposures and not get married to anybody. And I gotta say this to somebody too, that last year, I got like, I think 6% of Puka, 4% of Kyron, maybe a little bit less than that. I still took Terrace Marshall like above the field, and I regret that because that wasn't a play to make. And ultimately that's what you should be mindful of. It's like, it's really hard to surmise those guys in the 18th round. Especially if there are blockers coming in, in terms of the ability to get on the field and new coaches coming in. Javon Baker goes. So we will not get that New England portion of things. I could just take the handcuff for Mark Andrews, which honestly might not be the craziest thing in the world. Jonnu I have valued above the public as well. I'll take Jonnu. Maybe Miami doesn't score a lot of touchdowns week 17. Jonnu does. Mark Andrews is going to be carrying the water for this team primarily, but a tight end getting a little thin, so we'll go Jonnu here. Jonnu, no correlation with anything. Just hoping to capture a few TDs. Maybe a few 2 TD games. That's the hope. Tony sucked last year and barely mattered, but surely he'll do something now that Worthy took his soul, job. The job that Tony can win is going to be the Rashee Rice role. Like last year, it was one role that Hardman and Tony had that was rolled into one. I agree that it would normally be Worthy that should take over that, because Rashee Rice is going to be out for, not hopefully, but presumably enough time. There's still a shot for Tony. Like, I don't think he's dead, but like, if you're getting more than 4% Tony, I think you're probably fucking it up. But, look, hey, Jay could be right. Like, Jaden is not an unsharp person based on what I know of him, but, real like 1% kind of take. I don't think he'll be wide receiver too. He's got a shot. He's got a shot, but he lost a lot of trust last year. Like, my bet on him last year, I was over the field on Kadarius Toney, and I didn't back down on it. It was one of the things I got the most incorrect. But like, it wasn't totally incorrect because he had the shot week 1, and then he had the shot when he came back in after that. He just like fucked it up beyond belief. He and Tank Bigsby were actually very similar, where we're talking passes off the chest, turning interceptions. Those are ones you can't dig out of on teams that are serious teams. So Tony will get one more shot, but he also didn't do himself any favors in the playoffs with the bitching about being inactive and saying the team was lying about him. So like, you're dealing with a lot swimming upstream, and that's ultimately like the main thing of any of this. You want to make it probabilities that can hit, not like real thin probabilities that, I don't know. All right, likely still floating around. I feel like would not be a crazy pick here. But we're actually, I might take a third tight end, but I'm going to take Tez Walker as my wide receiver 8. A little more Houston, Baltimore here. We're doing it without Lamar. We lost out on all the Washington receivers that I care about. I could make a case for taking Diami Brown as an undrafted 18th round guy, but I'm not going to do it. So Tez Walker will be my pick here. And we'll give the team a read because we got a little bit before pick 211. We got Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert at QB. Did not reach for Jaden today. Took them safely at 102. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Marshawn Lloyd, Antonio Gibson. My critique for myself would be I didn't scoop up much value here, though Eckler was value that correlated. Marshawn Lloyd value I like a lot, but just didn't get a lot of value in this room. Amon-Ra, Nico Collins took Nico a little bit early to try to set up Diggs and not get Diggs back. Terry McLaurin got him, of course, for our boy Jaden. Was in a tough wide receiver pocket, but took the correlation early there. Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. got a little bit of a discount. Quentin Johnson ahead of ADP. Mims a little bit of a discount. This team is okay. I just didn't soak up value. It's unique because of the correlation. I doubt there are a lot of Washington Chargers teams floating around out there, but I think it's a team that could have been better. That's how I feel about it. Have to be honest about myself. If I'm going to give you guys honest team reviews, I have to give myself them too. Team's okay. But you add in a Derrick Henry, and I think it just makes it a little bit less cozy than I'd like it to be. Who's my favorite 17th, 18th round pick? I mean, my bias to say Audric Estime. I'm still a big believer in him. Still think he's very talented. Still think that's an ambiguous backfield where he's likely the best powered back and goal line back and maybe more. But that's probably the one for me. Tez is okay too, because you have that bet for Houston, Baltimore. I think it's okay. Jatavian Sanders, I like as well. So you see him going right now, round 17. Jatavian to me, Ian Thomas was crushing the first day of camp here of OTAs. But for Jatavian Sanders, do you think eventually he has to win that role? Though who knows? It being Carolina, Ian Thomas continues to find a way. He survives every regime like cockroaches. So perhaps he'll still hold back Jatavian Sanders. But Sanders is a bailout tight end 3, I think works. Noah Fant, if he's 17th, 18th round, I think is also a decent value. Tolbert, I think is good. Demarcus Robinson. Really, honestly, all the picks in this draft, I don't mind. I really don't mind. Robinson, probably more of a floor player than a pure ceiling guy, but he had 20-point games last year, or just shy of it. So, might be undervalued. One more shot. That's Rashee Rice's motto. Oh, boy. What a disaster for him. All right, 2-5-8-2 here. Thinking of putting my money where my mouth is at running back. You got Brooks, you got Eckler. This is not a bad RB room, but it's only 2 guys top 100. So we're going to go Audric Estime here for the last one. My estimate exposure has not gone crazy. I am trying to couch it a little bit more, but I just feel like he can win that job. So, and this does correlate. It's really the main thing. Correlates for week 16 with the Chargers. So final team here is a 2-6-8-2. And you could make the case I could have taken Eli Mitchell for the week 17 correlation, potentially with Amon-Ra, but Mitchell might have lost his job amidst them bringing in 2 new running backs. So that's my concern point. But the team here, 2-6-8-2, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert at QB. At RB, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Brooks, Austin Eckler, Marshawn Lloyd, Antonio Gibson, Audric Estime. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Quentin Johnston, Marvin Mims Jr., and Tez Walker. So we made it up at volume late with these 3 guys, hopefully. And Mark Anderson, Jonnu Smith, maybe could have gone a 3rd tight end instead of the 6th RB, but who would it have been? It would have been Michael Mayer, Davis Allen, Dawson Knox, Dulcich for the Denver correlation instead. Maybe would have been okay. Kind of feel like Dulcich. Is there a shot he just doesn't come back from this? Maybe. Anyway, that's the team. So going to be a 1 draft day, guys. But let me show you real fast my exposures because I do, or not my exposures, my drafts from yesterday. Because I do think it's interesting to see how I draft off stream compared to how I do it on stream. So let's look at them real fast. So this one, Houston, Denver with Achane and nice RBs. So I did go a hero RB here. CJ Stroud, Bo Nix. So got kind of scooped at QB, went with Bo Nix as QB2. Achane, Montgomery, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Jerome Ford. I like that room a good amount. And then again, we have the running back thing here where I'm hoping Ford or Achane go off in week 17. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Romo Dunze, Christian Watson, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, and Yoshivas I took late for the Cincinnati-Denver correlation because got scooped on Jermaine Burton. Burton, though, is the better play. I was really debating, though. I kind of think Trenton Irwin should be an occasional 18th round pick if you do have a Denver stack. Irwin can win that slot role. Like Burton might not be a refined route runner. He played out wide mostly in college. And yeah, you can move him out wide, Chase into the slot, but they're still going to want Chase out wide a lot. So I would watch out for Trenton Irwin, even though I took Yoshivas in the draft. And Schultz, Fant, Juwan Johnson as a team. So Houston, Denver, double. I like this team a lot. This is one of my favorite ones. Here's the Malachi Corley one I fucked up. So you tell me how I handled this, because I think I handled it about as well as I could. And here's also the disgusting part. My second 2 drafts I did last night, I did take Saquon in both of them. So here I took Saquon, pick 16. Our QBs, Kyler and Aaron Rodgers. Took Saquon, Brian Robinson Jr., Blake Corum, Ray Davis, Antonio Gibson, Audric Estime at running back. So there's another Estime appearance. Thought the RB room decent here, especially with the hero approach with Barkley. Puka Nacua, Devontae Smith, Jaden Reed, Malachi Corley, 80 spots of ADP, accidental Q slip up. But then I hopefully dug out of it with Khalil Shakir, Cooks, Wilson. We got correlation, and we have Jalen Tolbert to close it out for the Philly bring back, and Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid. So double elite tight end with Kincaid at 57, which I never see happen. So how badly did I botch it? I still think pretty bad. Obviously, you take Corley 80 picks ahead of ADP. It's not good. I could have had what I was going to do is go James Conner in this build for the Arizona correlation. But I do think if you're going to try to salvage it, pushing the QB back 40 spots is a way to do that. I hope. I don't really know. Yeah, the star method did not work. The star method did not work. And the final team I drafted last night was a Philly alpha. So we had Jalen Hurts and Jaden. Love that. QB room's crushing. Barkley, Cook, Jonathan Brooks, and Brian Robinson. So went a little more fragile at running back than I like to go, but I like this RB room. And again, we're making this bet on Philly being a crusher. We're ping-ponging weeks between Hurts and Brown, and then Saquon coming in after that. We have A.J. Brown. We have DK Metcalf, 6 picks after ADP going to pick 40, which I hope that happens in more rooms. JSN, Brandon Cooks is my bring back for Philadelphia. Do you think Cooks is an interesting bring back? Because you're never going to get Lamb with good Eagles. You can get Lamb with Devontae Smith, but you're not going to get Lamb with A.J. Brown. You might be able to get Lamb with Hurts, but to me, like Cooks late, probably going to be chalkier when people have Philly stacks, but I still like Cooks right now at pick 130 being a pick as that bring back for week 17. McCaffrey, Corley again, took him correctly at pick 178 here. Demarcus Robinson, I forget what I was correlating with that with Demarcus. I think I just needed another receiver and thought he gave me a better floor. Jalen Tolbert once again, Rondale Moore for my Washington Atlanta bring back. Rondale Moore, I still think very undervalued going in the last round. He'd be another guy I would throw into the week 17 or the round 17, round 18 mix. And then Kyle Pitts, another bring back for Washington. Cole Kmet is correlated with my Seattle guys. And then Washington, another part here with old Jaden Daniels. So I liked this team. I think the first team I liked the most, but I draft differently off stream too. I just try some different stuff. So ultimately, as this is all about, it's about a quest for a good portfolio, both on stream and off. So at my services every day, I'm going to try to give you guys the best takes. Really, I just want to build a sick team. So please do, guys. I've not pandered at all for this, but please subscribe down below, hit the like button. Of course, today started a little bit early, but here on Splash Play, drafts every day are going at 11 a.m. East Coast time, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. And this weekend, even though it's Memorial Day weekend, we're going to kick off drafters this weekend as well. So not sure yet if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday, but it is going to come up this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So my drafters debut, if you want to deposit on drafters and be a part of that mix, go do that right now. Promo code SPLASH on there, $100 deposit match. Of course, Underdog as well, same thing, promo code deposit, promo code SPLASH on there, up to $250 in bonus cash, which of course you guys know by now. Underdog keeps insisting that we call it boner cash because everybody there's popping boners at how enthusiastic they are be getting this much money for free when you deposit. So do it for yourself. $250 in bonus cash, promo code SPLASH and Underdog. Probably please go sign up. I'm so buried by meetings and decks and I want to kill myself. So please, probably.com/subscribe. Promo code SPLASH on there gets you half off. Stochastic DFS tools, click the link in the description or go over there. Promo code SPLASH, 15% off on all their tools. And that includes all the sim products as well. And gamble responsibly too. And shouts to the Squirt Squad. You too can join the Squirt Squad. Hit the join button down below. $4.99 a month. You get access to my Spags rankings, which update weekly, include exportable ones for Underdog, or you just read the blurbs. You also can go and get a VIP Discord as part of the membership here to sync your Discord to your YouTube. And last but not least, 10 team reviews for me a month. You saw how harsh I am on myself. I try to give actionable feedback, which many people in the community can attest. Hopefully does add some value. And guys last year added a lot of value. Hopefully guys this year can also attest. But hit that join button if you want that. And follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. So, hey, enjoy your days and good luck. Bye-bye.